Bismillah.
No.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. First question says, Assalamu alaikum akhi al-Kareem. I live in Belgium, and here we have a big issue concerning the Fajr prayer. One calendar says that the Fajr is 4 o'clock, and another calendar says that it's 3:30. While Shuruq is at 6 o'clock. I heard a fatwa of Sheikh bin Uthaymeen or Sheikh bin Baz saying that the Fajr usually starts 90 minutes before the Shuruq. When should we pray? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Trying our best to simplify things, bidhnillah, and avoid unnecessary technicalities. Is that the time when the prayer comes in is not necessarily the same time that the adhan is made at a masjid. The time that a prayer comes in is not necessarily the time in which the prayer is made and established. The time in which the prayer comes in, according to one traditional school of thought, may not necessarily be the same according to another traditional school of thought, such as the Jumhur and some of the ulama of Kufa, whether it be Imam Abu Hanifa and his disciples or other ulama, with regards to which one should you do. Is it the hadith of Rafi ibn Khadij, Asfiru bil Fajri, فَإِنْهُ أَعْظَمُ لِلْأَجْرِ? Is it the hadith of the Taghlis? Alright? And what's meant by Taghlis? The Prophet ﷺ prayed when it was very dark outside, and he recited for a very long time, so when they left the masjid it was relatively bright outside. Or to start the Fajr prayer when it's relatively bright. Everybody understand this? These are all tafasil. These are details that are mentioned in the books of fiqh among the ulama of the past. So what's important is, obviously, if you are someone who has the necessary knowledge and the necessary qualifications, then you have to do that which you feel is most correct, whether it's in accordance with the prayer schedule or not. And if you don't have the necessary knowledge, the necessary details, the necessary training, then you follow the person that you trust and feel comfortable with, their knowledge, whether it's Sheikh ibn Baz or other than Sheikh ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala. Everybody understand this? Now, just because Sheikh ibn Baz, rahimahullah, says that the Shuruq is 90 minutes approximately after Fajr, doesn't mean every single country. Whereas you mentioned you live in Belgium, and the global position of Belgium is not like that of Hijaz, for example. So these are all different details. What's important is that if the prayer schedule is considered to be accurate, and if the prayer schedule was put together and laid out and laid down by specialists of fiqh and specialists of astronomy, of geography, of these different things like this, everybody understand this? Then that's one thing. And if the prayer schedule is inaccurate and it hasn't been done by these specialists, then stick to that which is closest. The question is, do you know how to look for the Fajr yourself? What is the sign of Fajr? When does Fajr begin? Where do you live? What buildings surround you? What man-made lights are there? These are all different details which come between you and a sharply accurate estimation of the exact time for the prayer. So there is no doubt the safest thing to do, wallahu alam, is to stick with the prayer schedules with the condition is that those prayer schedules were done with someone that has some type of expertise in the Islamic field and the secular field as well. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seek Allah's help, inshallah. Seek Allah's help. And just because the Shaykh says 90 minutes after Shuruq or before Shuruq doesn't necessarily mean that's when it comes in, or when it ends, or when it stops, or it's haram to do it before that or after that. Does not necessarily what? Mean that. That's in brief. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mufti, what is the ruling on telling your wife that you are taking on a second wife? I've heard that the husband doesn't have to tell the first wife that he is seeking a second wife until the day of the nikah. Is it true that the husband isn't obliged or obligated to tell the first wife that he has a second wife unless she finds out? And what about the second wife? Isn't she obligated to know that he already has a wife at home, even though she doesn't ask? Please clarify. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a very commonly asked question. Very, very commonly asked question all of the time. In Arabic and in English. Do I have to tell my first wife? Or some questions say, do I have to ask my first wife? Do I have to seek my first wife's permission? Okay, or in Canada, a sister, a Somalian sister, she said, is it permissible to have a secret marriage? The husband's married to one wife, he marries the second wife and is totally secret from the first family. Is that permissible? So I told the sister, why does it have to be a secret? It shouldn't be a secret. So on and so forth. She argued. Her cup was extremely fuller than yours, Abdul Wadud. It was full. And she said, well, what about, what if it's a situation? Yeah. Salli ala Nabi. What do you want me to say? So this is a very, very common problem among many people. We have to give general guidelines first and foremost. And that is, Allah Azza wa Jal made the divorce in the hand of the man. He made the divorce in the hand of the man. Everybody understand this? In the Arabic language, the fatha is above the kasra. You say kayfa anta, you say kayfa anti. Okay? When you start talking about the anatomy and the body, the male's private part, his sexual organ, is different from the woman's private part, her sexual organ. It's a difference. It's the reason why Allah made the body like that. This can do without that, that cannot do without. Everybody understand this? And this goes on and on and on. Of the things that Allah made for the man and He made for the woman, which is appropriate for both sexes. بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah says because the preference He gave to one over the other. So this applies in many things. Like we said, Arabic language, divorce, spending, inheritance, and also the right to take on a second wife. So the general rule is if you have to ask your wife's permission to get a second wife, then you do not need a second wife. Period. If you have to ask her permission, is the reality. Secondly, if you have to hide it from her, or if you have to sneak around and doing it, something's wrong with your relationship, with your authority, with your Islam, with the sunnah that you're practicing and she's practicing. Something's wrong, one way or another. Or it may be an extreme situation in which it's detrimental for the man not to have a second wife, and the wife is extremely immature, and she has a great deal of jealousy and envy, something like this. That's one thing. But the normal asl, is that there's nothing to hide about getting a second wife. There's nothing I have to ask and beg. It's my choice. It's my decision. Allah gave it to me. Allah put me in charge of it. And I don't have to ask your permission for it. Now, hikmah is one thing. The Prophet ﷺ says that gentleness is never in a thing, إِلَّا زَانَهُ, except that gentleness beautifies that thing. وَلَا نُزِعَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ أَوْ وَمَا نُزِعَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا شَانَهُ. Okay, ﷺ says, whenever gentleness is taken out of a thing, it uglifies that thing. The thing becomes ugly. So wisdom, gentleness, there's no doubt about that. Using these tools, okay? And looking at your wife as your partner, looking at your wife as your friend, looking at your wife as your companion, and looking at your wife in the reality of 2017 in America, in the UK, in Canada. Okay, you're not living in a hut. Your wife is not milking a goat. Okay, you don't bring home an animal on your shoulder and dump it on a table in the cabin and tell her to cut it open and put it over the fire. Things are different. It's your wife, she works, she drives. It's a different lifestyle, different mindset. People are different. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. Everybody understand this? It's not that simple. So do you sit down and talk to your wife? Does your wife make decisions in the household? Does your wife pay bills? Does she dictate certain things? There's no doubt about that among many brothers. So obviously it's not going to work, you getting a second wife, unless she gives her what? Either permission, that's the first level. If not the permission, her agreement, she agrees. Last but not least, the least is that you just talk to her. You explain it to her. And you give her the necessary respect and treat her like the companion that she is to you. Everybody understand this? As far as if you live that type of lifestyle, in which is totally, absolutely sunnah in your household, and your wife is a homemaker, and you work and you pay every single bill, you take care of everything, that's a different story. You can tell her, listen, you can like it or not, I'm getting a second wife. I'm sorry. That's one thing. But that's not how the average Muslim lives today. That's not how the average brother lives today. Everybody understands whether the wife is paying the bills, whether the wife leaves the house without his permission, whether. So we have to be real and transparent about this issue. But the general rule is that if you have to ask her permission, you do not need a second wife. Period. All right? So is it mandatory to ask your wife for permission? No, it is not. Is it haram to get on a second wife if she does not agree? No, it is not. Can you have a secret second marriage? I would never advise with that unless it's an extreme case or situation. This woman, where are you going at night? For these nights, she deserves nights every other night. Or she lives in another country. Where are you going? What are you going to do? Lie to her? I'm going to work. You want to lie? At best, you're going to hide something from her. What are you going to do when you get caught and trapped? How is she going to feel? What's going to happen to your marriage? What happens if she gets pregnant? Everybody understand this? There are many different things that come as a result of you hiding a total different, separate situation from the first wife. Many problems. Are you willing to deal with those problems? And what's going to happen when they must ensue? This is a reality that you have to face. Everybody understand this? It's a what? It's a reality. Now, so it's detail. It depends on the situation. If it was me, okay, or let's say, leave me out the picture. If it was anybody else, is it wise to tell your wife on the day of the nikah, yeah, I'm getting married, I'll come home for 7 nights. See you. This is would the Prophet do that? Something's wrong if you have to do that. As if you're hiding, if you're scared. Your Islamic domination as the male, as the imam, as the leader, is weak. It's compromised. And the proof of that is that you have to hide and run and sneak. Wallahu alam. Is it permissible to wear Nike? Some say that since Nike is the Greek goddess of victory, meaning Nike is like wearing a cross. What would be the rule of wearing Jordans? Nike is the parent company of Jordans, but usually the Nike logo isn't on Jordans. Jazakallah khairan, may Allah grant you Jannah, Ameen. May Allah bless you as well, and Ameen to your du'as, and you as well, bidnillahi ta'ala. If you say that wearing Nike is haram, then you can't drive a Mazda, or Chrysler, or Ford, or Chevrolet, or Cadillac, and there are many other emblems, logos, insignias, all types of things which are symbolic to shirk, kufr, paganism. No doubt about that. Everybody clear on this? So apply it all around the board, bidnillahi ta'ala. Now obviously some of these signs are bolder than others. We can't disagree with that. Some signs are bolder than others. Some signs are more outlandish than others. A clear cross, a crucifix. Everybody understand this? A Buddha, true religion, or whatever. Some years back, people were wearing those, clothes. I don't know if they still wear them now. I don't know. Everybody understand this? That's done. Outdated. Okay, tight. Everybody understand this? Some signs are bolder than others. But the whole concept of a logo. What's the origin of a logo? Who were the first people to make a logo? Do you know who the people who originated the concept of a logo is? We won't mention it right now. Read about it. Those who originated the concept of a logo. And what was the purpose of the logo? Hidden symbolicism. A sign. It's a very deep concept in itself. So if you're willing to apply this to many household products that you have, ink pens, different things on your wallet, Swiss Army knives and things like this, then that's one thing. And if you're not willing to apply that, then don't cherry pick. The Nike is haram, but the Chevrolet is okay. BMW. Mercedes-Benz, 3-point star, land, air, and sea. Allahu Alam. If that's what that means. Everybody understand this? And the list goes on. There are many other things. Everybody understand this? What's the rule wearing a jersey? Can you wear a jersey? Can you have the non-Muslim's name on your back? Or can you have a name of a man or woman on your underpants? Is that permissible? And what is the symbolicism of that? What's meant by that? By this one's name and this lady's name and this brand of clothing. This is a reality. We start talking about homosexuality and all types of things like this. So we have to be mindful. If you have doubt about it, if you don't feel comfortable with it, if you feel that it's the sign of the Greek goddess of speed or victory, then don't wear it. Khalas. Period. The Michael Jordan sign is not a swoosh or check, but it's a man on there, soaring in there. What does that mean? It's 3 points on the body. What does that symbolize? You think it's just a man, the dunk, or is a $1 billion company? You have to be mindful of these things. Everybody understand this? Oftentimes, people become inaccurate with these things. All right, and if you actually read the origin, it's not necessarily pertaining to religion. It's not necessarily what? Pertaining to religion. So you have to be mindful. If you want to wear them, I can't necessarily say that it's haram to wear Nikes, because there are many other things that have type of original symbols but are no longer intended to do that. Everybody clear on this? Or it's clear difference of opinion on what's meant by this logo or this symbol. Some say the Greek sign of goddess, and others may say it's just a swoosh. It's just a style. Or even if it was symbolic to the Greek goddess, it's no longer symbolic to that anymore. Last but not least is, what is symbolic to the Greek goddess of victory? The swoosh or the word Nike? There's a huge difference. And if the word Nike or the name Nike is the name of the Greek goddess, then there are many other names that we have on a daily basis that are pertaining to Christianity. And it's not necessarily haram to have that name or to mention or to use that name. To say hello or goodbye. Everybody clear on this? Yeah. We have to be precise in this. You have to be what? Precise. If you don't want to do it, then don't wear it. But Reeboks, Adidas, Pumas, Asics, Filas, and the list goes on. Everything is based off of a symbol, a logo, or an emblem. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum. I'm 23 years old and currently living in Belgium, Europe. My question is, if hijrah is obligatory in these hard times for the Muslims in the West, and what countries can we go to? Is moving to another country in Europe also considered hijrah, or does it have to be an Arabic/African country? Excuses if you already made a video about the subject, I will look it up. Salam alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. If you live in Belgium, and you feel that the hijrah is mandatory, as some of the ulama of Islam explain, they say it's absolutely mandatory, regardless whether you can practice your religion or not, regardless whether you can take pride in your religion or not, regardless whether you're persecuted or not. Many of the ulama of Islam, they say that hijrah, leaving the lands of kufr and shirk, is mandatory, mutlaqan, absolutely. And the concept of increasing the numbers of the people of kufr and shirk, living under their banner, living under their welfare, of their care, their kind treatment and care, living among these people, they say that that's haram, period. And that is something which clearly infringes al-wala' wal-bara. And you can't do it. It's the view of some of the ulama of Islam. And they have proofs and evidences to support this. They say that hijrah is mandatory, regardless. And other ulama, they say hijrah is mandatory for Muslims that cannot practice the religion where they're living. Muslims who do not feel safe from the fitna, the infatuation, the test, the temptation, the lust of alcohol, of drugs, of women, of men, of sex, and these things like this. Homosexuality and lesbianism, the church bells, atheism. Atheism. They teach our children about atheism in school, evolution, so on and so forth. So some of the ulama, they say that it's mandatory to make hijrah from this place. If you cannot practice your deen, it's haram to grow your beard, it's haram to pray in public, it's haram to do this where you're living. Or you can do those things, but it's so much fitna. And you don't have the ability to bear and deal with this fitna on a daily basis. Everybody clear on this? Then those ulama, they say in that case, it becomes mandatory. And if that isn't the case, then it's permissible to stay as a minority in a non-Muslim, Western, secular, nominal country. Everybody understand this? And then some, they may say, in 2017, the Muslim lands, obviously, inshallah, no matter what, they're always going to be, inshallah, relatively better, are similar to the non-Muslim lands, whereas there's the internet. And the song that's played in New York City is also played, what? In the Middle East. In the riba banks and the system of riba, there's, wahakala. So to give detail, what's important is, if you have the ability to make hijrah, and it's good for you and your family, you feel afraid in Belgium for your children, then that is what you should do without any hesitation. What countries can you go to? That's the answer that I cannot give. My limited knowledge is that most quote-unquote Muslim countries or quote-unquote Islamic countries or Arabic countries or African countries, most of them, to my limited knowledge, do not welcome people to migrate there. They don't welcome people, do not allow people to migrate there. You can work, you can visit, you can stay for some time, but to migrate and to become a citizen and live there forever, to my limited knowledge, not all, but most countries don't allow this. Most countries do not allow this, all right? Many countries, you may go to the airport, or you may speak to the people there, you may have a very hard time, in which they may not believe you that they're coming to make hijrah, to go to Ivory Coast, or to go and live in Malaysia or Indonesia, or to go to, I want to live in Egypt or Morocco. They may not believe you. And they may accuse you of being a spy. They may accuse you of being an infidel, of being a munafiq. Why are you leaving America to come live here in our poor third world country? Something's up. You hide something. Something's under your sleeve. This is a bitter reality. Rather, there are certain countries that I've been to, you may go to seek ilm. You can go there to seek knowledge. You say, I'm not here to stay, I just want to learn. They say, you're lying. There's no way that you're leaving America to come here. Wallahi. When I went to Yemen, I stayed in the airport for 14 hours before they let me out the airport. 14 hours. They said, there's no way you're coming here to seek knowledge. Something's up with you. Why do you know Arabic already? How do you speak Arabic? Where do you come from? 14 hours. That's almost 24 hours just to get out the airport. So the point is that I don't know of a specific country that I can advise you to go to. I'm sure there are. Allah says in the Quran that His earth is spacious. His earth is ever expansive. That's what Allah tells us. Where there's a will, there's a way. But a specific country in which is suitable for you to live in, pay close attention now, and you can have your savings and also do a little work, a specific country that allows this, I do not necessarily know. I don't necessarily what? No. Moving forward, it says is moving to another country in Europe also considered hijrah. There are levels of hijrah. The Prophet ﷺ, and pay close attention now, because many people they make a mistake regarding this issue. He left Mecca. He didn't leave, but the companions left Mecca. He allowed them to leave Mecca to go to Abyssinia under the rule of Najashi. Okay? Alright? Negus. Naam? Tayyib. So this man was a Christian. And anyone who knows anything about Abyssinia, Ethiopia, that the northeastern corner, the Horn of Africa, Habasha, but specifically Ethiopia, is a cradle of Christianity. They say have the most authentic Christianity there, from the most authentic biblical scriptures, and the list goes on. So this was a stronghold for Christians. And they were also a world power as well. They fought the Arabs, they conquered many lands, Yemen, Hijaz, and the list goes on. So among those people, not only were there Christians, but there were also mushrikun as well, many polytheists. And the Prophet allowed the companions to go there because it was too hot in Mecca. The pressure, the persecution was too severe. And they went twice and they lived there. And the Prophet acknowledged that this man was a just ruler, he was a king. He didn't oppress anyone in his land. Everybody understand this? Later on we know that some of the Sahaba, most of them they returned. They went back to Mecca, then to Medina. Some of them died there. Some people actually went there and apostated. And we know eventually Najashi radiallahu anhu, he accepted Islam and the Prophet prayed upon him. So, does this prove that you can make hijrah from one mushrik land or one oppressive land to another land of kufr and shirk, but it's less oppressive or less kufr and less shirk? Does it mean that was the system of legislation finished and complete during the early years of Mecca? Can you use the dalil from the early Meccan period? Can you use the dalil? Listen carefully. Can you use a story or an event from the early Meccan period after there were years of development of the Sharia later on, in which the command to make hijrah, the command to make jihad, the command to live among the Muslims, the command to have hate and love, the command for these things was sent down in detail? Is that scientific? Like some people say, the Prophet ﷺ, he married Khadija and he stayed with her for 25 years without taking on a second wife. Right. Everybody understand this? The practice of polygamy among the Arabs was well known before Islam. There's no doubt about that. But was Surah An-Nisa sent down yet? Was Surah 33 sent down in Mecca before the Prophet was even a prophet? Can you use that as a dalil for something they did in the early days of Mecca as a proof after the entire legislation was sent down in Medina? That obviously anybody with any sense is going to at least say, let's slow down. At least what? Slow down. Let alone that's rejected. Ilmiyan. Everybody understand this? Because Allah completed the religion what? Later on. And them going to Abyssinia was a means of necessity. And it wasn't necessarily a dalil that you can go from one Kafir country to another Kafir country, and that's hijrah. The maqsood of hijrah is to go from the lands of kufr to the lands of what? Islam. Everybody understand this? The lands of dhulm to the lands of justice. Now, does that necessarily mean that you can't do this? We're not saying it doesn't mean that, but we're saying that that's not the absolute pure, organic understanding of the word what? Hijrah. And that's a ghalat. Yaqa fi kathir. Kathir wa kathir. Many people, they make this mistake. Alright, and there are other examples as well. So therefore, if you go to a land in which the oppression isn't as bad, there are more Muslims in this country, in France or Germany or London or Birmingham or wherever you go, there's more knowledge there. They have graduates of Medina, graduates from this country, tulab of this sheikh there, and it's a stronger Islamic personality and identity there, then go. Bidnai ta'ala, and hopefully that's a relative type of hijrah. But that does not necessarily mean that that is the actual concept of what? Hijrah. That's the most important thing. So bid'in ta'ala, there are levels, and if you have to suffer, then at least minimize the suffering. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu alaikum. A lot of women's clothing is decorated with many designs and decorations, including hijabs. What is the ruling of wearing a hijab that has designs of flowers, etc.? What about a decorated handbag? Are these clothings considered a form of adornment? That's... Fadal. Okay. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum. A lot of women's clothing is decorated with many designs and decorations, including hijabs. What is the woman wearing a hijab that has designs of flowers, etc.? What about a decorated handbag? Are these clothings considered a form of adornment? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First and foremost is the proper understanding of the word adornment. Just because something is a means of adornment does not mean that it is haram. Nor does it mean that it's makruh, disliked. Rather, there's some type of adornment for a Muslim woman which is totally and absolutely permissible. Everybody understand this? There's nothing wrong with certain types of adornment. When you wear a hijab, you have a bag, you have shoes, whether you're in black or blue or brown or white, whatever color or style you're wearing, and it's covering your body, it's loose, it doesn't have one perfume, it's not tight, it's not transparent, and the list goes on, that in itself is also an adornment. A woman's style, her clothes. And she can have hijab that's sunnah with a little bit of style. Or quote unquote, as some people use the word swag. I really don't like to use that word that much for reasons that we won't mention right now. The meaning of the word swag. What's important is that if a sister has hijab from top to toe, she still has some type of adornment with her. The clothes that she has on under, the jewelry that's covered, her bag, her shoes. That's well known among the sisters who practice Islam and the Sunnah, especially sisters who come from the urban city. Especially sisters who are reverts to Islam, and they had some type of style or some type of diva-ness with them before they were Islam. They're upon the Sunnah, they're trying to practice the correct hijab and not the cultural hijab, and yet and still they'll have some fly shoes on, and the shoes are black. They're not a standout color, but they're still nice shoes, nice loafers, whatever the case may be. And her handbag is a plain color, but it's still what? A top-notch bag. Everybody understand this? So that's adornment. So does it mean it's haram? No. So you have to have a proper understanding of what's meant by adornment. Adornment, that which is haram, and adornment which is permissible and recommended, and something that Allah sent down upon the children of Adam. So the haram adornment, obviously, is for a woman to show what cannot be shown. Or for a woman to put on things that in which they are shown, what shouldn't be shown. Such as, if a sister is going to uncover her hands and her face, and she believes that it's permissible to do so. That's how she's been taught. Not it's khilaf, that's why I do it. But she actually believes that it's not haram. And that the hijab encompasses the hair, the neck, the chest, the feet, etc. Just the hands and the face, that's the only thing that can be exposed. Then that's fine. But the adornment on the hand, such as henna, no. Nail polish, no. Eyeliner, makeup, these things, lipstick, lip gloss, that's an adornment which is prohibited. Everybody clear on this? So what's meant by adornment? So back to the specific question. A sister that has some type of flower or some type of, something on the sleeve or the cuff or along the neck, some type of tailored trim type of rivet, fluffy type thing or whatever. As long as it isn't outlandish, it's not too loud, it isn't something that doesn't stand out too much, depending on the color itself. Is it the same color of the hijab? Is it a color that doesn't bring too much attention? Things like this. Labans. Hopefully it's not wrong with that. However, the best thing that I would advise with is that when you wear hijab, make it a solid color and one plain color, whether it's black or other than black. As long as it's not a color that's too bright, too loud, and calling too much attraction. It's too outlandish. Very important word. Everybody understand this? But obviously, hijab and covering and modesty, these are relative terms. There's some sisters don't wear hijab at all. And their husbands allow them to leave the house every day. Walk, come home, undressed, uncovered. Their daughters, every day, they allow them to walk around, go to college, go to work, uncovered. And there's some sisters who wear khimar or kimar. Some sisters who wear a tunic top and pants, tight pants. Some sisters wear a tunic top and loose pants. Some sisters wear a type of abaya, in which it's a bit loose, it's a bit stylish. Some sisters have a totally wrapped kimar, it's nothing that you can see. Some sisters totally sunnah, there are levels to it. What's important is that the hijab of the Muslim sister, listen carefully to these words, is nothing more than a manifestation of her understanding and practice of Islam. The hijab of a Muslim woman is nothing more than a manifestation of her understanding and practice of the deen. Loose hijab, really colorful hijab, open hijab, that means her deen is shaky. Her understanding of the deen is not solid at all. Her practice of the sunnah is not solid at all. But the, inshallah ta'ala, the hijab that is covering, that's loose, that's modest, in which you cannot see and you don't figure out, then that's a proof, bi'idhnillah, of her deen, her understanding, and her practice, inshallah, is on the right track. Obviously with the perfect akhlaq as well. Alright, don't wear hijab and slander people and curse people and be disrespectful and nasty and mean and sarcastic. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to a man as well. The hijab of the man. Do you have a beard? Are your pants tight? When you make sujood and ruku', what is seen? Are you offensive to your brother who's behind you? Are your ankles dragging on the floor and bringing in all of the dirt from Bedford and Fulton into the carpet? Or are they tailored and trimmed above your ankles? If they're above your ankles, are they at your shin? Do you wear a thobe, an izar, or your traditional dress from your country? The manifestation of your Islam as well. And very strange, you find some brothers, you may go to the supermarket or you go to take your kids somewhere and you find sisters with all black on from top to toe. And the guy walks with a suit on, a clean shaven face and tight pants. That's a problem. Is a man like a woman? Does a man have to cover everything a woman does? No, not at all. We're not saying that. But how do you think she feels? How do people look at her? They call her an extremist, a terrorist, a fundamentalist. You're this, you're that, you're a foreigner. And you just totally perfectly fit in. So that's a manifestation of your religion as well. And oftentimes it's a manifestation of double standard and hypocrisy. You have to cover a certain way, not me. So the hijab, the clothes, what's in the outside is nothing more than a manifestation of what's in the inside. The heart and the mind. How much knowledge of Islam do you have? How much understanding of Islam do you have? How much devotion of Islam do you have? And this does not mean that it has to be a specific style or specific color. It does not mean that it has to be a black overgarment. It doesn't mean that it has to be a Saudi thobe. It does not mean that. What's important is the sunnah. The closest that you can come to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and that which is known from the clothing of the Muslims. Whether it's the sunnah or not, but it's known Muslims wear these clothes from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Burkina Faso, from Kuwait, from Yemen, etc. Wallahu a'lam. Any other questions before we stop?
You said that you were saying,
Wa alaikum salam to Allah.
You were saying that why is the henna on the hands and why is the henna on the hands considered? Why is that prohibited?
In brief, question with regards to a woman wearing henna on her hands. As we said, and we'll say again, it's either one or two options that the Muslim sister has. Not even options, but we're talking about in the actual, which is a valid opinion. Either she covers everything, or the hands and the face are allowed to be seen outside, in front of someone who isn't her father, her brother, her uncle, or mahram. But if the sister does not cover her hands and her face, she is not allowed to adorn and beautify the two. If you have your hands out, sister, your hands should be natural, as they are. Everybody understand this? And hinna is a type of zina, which is not to be seen by a non-mahram. It's not to be seen by someone who isn't a mahram. Fingernail polish, hinna on the fingernails, this is not to be seen by someone who isn't a what? A mahram. Hakada. Look at your wife's hand with henna and say, Limada, why is it adornment? Everybody understand this? Naam Sheikh. Everybody clear on this? A woman's face. You're not allowed to wear this type of lipstick and your lip gloss is popping, right? These layers of glaze on your lips and all of this sparkles on your face. That's not for someone who isn't a mahram. Everybody understand this? So if you're going to have your hands and face uncovered, then it has to be what? Plain. Lip balm. It's cold outside. Not having your lips ashy and dry and cracked. Nah, but something like that. You got your nails not done, but you know, we call it manicure. You understand what I'm trying to get to? Without no color, without nothing that's out of the way. You put lotion on your hands. Labas. But colors and styles and things like this, la. One may say even rings. Wallahu alam.